All right, so we're going to have more of my conversation with Adam in a moment, but I want to hone in on this idea of a possible charity game, right? We've seen the NBA step in like this before. Back in September of 2005, we had NBA stars come together for a game to raise money for the victims of Hurricane Katrina. Very different, though, to all come to a place that had been economically devastated versus this. And you heard Adam talk about some of the specifics that would have to be involved if they did a charity game. He said, would we have to quarantine everybody? Would you have to test and then isolate everybody involved?
And then isolate them from their families, test their families.
Right?
It's a lot.
Kind of thing. Would you kind of move everybody for 2 weeks and then have them play? How would you control sort of who else was involved with that? Everyone touches a basketball. We're all sitting our required feet apart, but there's no social distancing when you guys are playing. So what do you, what do you think of this idea?
We're all trying to find ways to whet our appetite for the game of basketball. And, you know, this could, if you were able to pull off a charity game, this could possibly be a blueprint of bringing the NBA back.
Right.
And so I'm all for it. You know, if there's a possible way to get a charity game going to where the players agree to it, and I'm not sure if you have fans or talk about some of the things Adam talked about with the quarantining the players and fans, or even not even having fans. So whatever, if they were able to pull this off, this would definitely be the blueprint and the first step toward bringing NBA games back.
I love the thinking outside the box, the optimism and all the efforts to try to bring something back. But if you think about the optics of it, like you said, well, how's the quarantine work? Are they going to be quarantined from their families now? Are we testing their families?
I mean, look, I'm totally spitballing, right? Do
Yeah.
you have an army base or something that's not being used? It's going to be crazy.
But even on top of that, like, I love the idea of a charity game, but you got to think now, what happens if someone gets hurt in that charity game? What happens if LeBron sprains an ankle, knock on wood? You know, what happens if a key player in this charity game gets hurt and in the season, it's a blueprint.
Or even
the season
contacted
does come
the
back.
virus somehow.
Or yeah, you know what I mean? So I think there's too many what ifs, you know, especially for a charity game. I love the idea. If this was the summertime when we were trying to entertain the fans, I'm all for it. But the fact that the NBA may possibly still come back and we're putting guys at risk for a charity game, I don't know if that's how that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I do like, as you said, that they're thinking about different things you
got
can do.
to.
This is a new set of problems, right?
Yeah.
And to Adam's point, we are good in this country at facing a new set of problems and figuring out what to do. Paul and I were talking before the show about all the new apps that are going to get invented in the next 2 months by people being like, oh, you're all staying at home? Do this now through your phone. So I think, you know, the NBA is going to keep looking at this. And I was very interested to hear him bring that up last night because it hadn't been in any of the reporting yet. And the idea that he said players keep calling him and saying, I want to play. And I think if you said to some of the players in the NBA, and I understand your injury concerns, but if you said to them, hey, it's totally voluntary if you want to or not,
guys would play for sure.
but spend 2 weeks, we're going to put you for 2 weeks in some sort of, you know, hotel or something that's just for you guys, and you're not going to be with your families, but for 2 weeks we're going to isolate everyone and make sure that everybody is free of anything that could hurt each other or anyone else, and then we're going to play some games that we're going to televise for charity, and it's going to be like a month of boot camp or something.
I think it would be great.
I think you would get guys who wanted to do it, and of course guys who didn't or had the concerns you're talking about wouldn't, but this is something where we're talking about for the next couple months maybe tucking in, and so maybe a 2 to 3 week quarantine or isolation for some guys wouldn't feel like something that they would argue with. I don't know. It depends on how many of your kids at home have been asking you questions every 5 minutes.